Greetings and welcome. It is Tuesday, my favorite day of the week. Always has been. You know why? Because Tuesday is when the dust has settled from the weekend. The noise of Monday has passed and you start to see clearly. Tuesday is the sweet spot. Tuesday is when the truth comes into focus, and here on the Ryder Report, that's exactly what we're doing, cutting through the clutter and giving you the real story in sports. Now today we start with the WNBA Playoffs. Oh yes, don't laugh because the intensity is there. These athletes are leaving it all on the floor. You got stars defining themselves not just with flashy stats, but with clutch performances that change the entire narrative of a postseason. Then motorsports fans, listen up, I see you. The brand new NTT INDYCAR Series schedule is out. New tracks, big races, the kind of stuff that makes fans circle dates on their calendar. From there, we head to Major League Baseball, and this is where the things get dicey. You know, we're just a couple of weeks away from the playoffs, and that picture is tightening up fast. And finally, oh yes, the headline that made everyone do a double take. Tom Brady is back in football. Sort of. It's not exactly what you think, but we will cut through the spin, the hype, the nonsense, and give you the straight story. What's really happening, and does it actually matter? Folks, it's all happening right here. This is the Ryder Report. I am Ryder Bullock. So glad you could be with us on a Tuesday night here in Temecula, California. We start tonight, though, at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, where the Indiana Fever were fighting to stay alive in their WNBA playoff campaign. Fever hosting their first postseason game since 2016, and they came ready. Kelsey Mitchell dialed it up, 19 points, 4 triples, 4 assists, leading the charge. Aaliyah Boston powered the paint, 15 points. 5 boards, 3 dimes, and Indiana set the tone early. Natasha Howard chipped in 12 and 5, giving the Fever balance on both ends. For Atlanta, Tihina Papeo came off the bench, firing 11 points, while Ryan Howard was held to just 10. The Dreams' offense sputtered, finishing 25 points below their season average. Alicia Gray fought through foul trouble and had a run-in with fans courtside. Security had to escort 2 out. Indiana's defense clamped down, holding Atlanta with a 3 until late in the second quarter. And when the Dream closed the gap in the third, Mitchell and Boston took over, fueling a 22-7 run that broke the game wide open. Final score, Fever 77, Dream 60. Indiana earns its first postseason win since 2015 and forces a decisive Game 3 Thursday in Atlanta. The Fever faithful 16,682 strong, rocking Gainbridge Fieldhouse all night. In Seattle, into the third quarter, right now live, Vegas leads it 69-61. Aces taking on the Storm. Vegas leads that game 69-61. They also lead the series 1-0 if the fourth quarter ends like the third does, with the Aces leading. The Storm will be eliminated, and Vegas will go to round 2. We'll keep you updated on that game moment as the evening progresses. Lost my thought there. Tomorrow night, though, you've got 2 really interesting matchups in the first round. First up, Phoenix Mercury at the New York Liberty, the defending champions. Both these teams finished 27-17, but it's very different 20-17. New York's 15-5 in the East, dominant at home, 17 wins in that building. and they share the ball. They move it, second best in the league in assists. Sabrina Ionescu drives that whole engine. She's given you almost 6 a night. Phoenix, they're scrappy, 12-10 on the road. They want to score inside. They live in the paint. Alyssa Thomas, she's that motor. 14 on a game down low. They've actually been playing a little better offensively in the last 10, about 81 a night, but they gave it up almost the same. New York's a small favorite here, 2.5 if you're betting, and honestly, I think that's about right. Liberty shoot it better, defend it better, and in a one-possession playoff game at home, I lean New York. Now, the late game out west, this one's different. Minnesota Lynx at Golden State and the Valkyries. And let me tell you, this is a mismatch on paper. Minnesota's 34-10. They've been the best team in the West all year. They're 20-4 in the conference. They shoot the three. They defend. They share the ball. They've got Collier, who's been fantastic. Lynx are double-digit favorites for a reason, 10.5. Golden State, brand new team. Nice story. They made the playoffs in their first year, but they've got injuries. Thornton's out. Hayes is out. They've been 500 lately. But they don't have the firepower to match Minnesota over 4 quarters. I'll give them credit. They shoot the 3 ball, but Minnesota shoots it better, defends it better, and frankly, this should be a Lynx win and probably a cover. So tomorrow, the early game at 8 o'clock, Liberty Mercury should be competitive. A toss-up game that probably comes down to Ionescu or Cooper making plays late. Brianna Stewart, remember she had the injury in game 1. She's a game-time decision tomorrow, so that will also play into effect. But that 10 o'clock game, Lynx, Valkyries, I think it's Minnesota's to lose in that game there. So if the Liberty win, they will move on. If the Lynx win, they will also move on. So Mercury and Valkyries all trying to force a game 3 like Indiana did, which is scheduled for 7:30 on Thursday night. Storm and the Aces just started the fourth quarter. Aces lead at 71-63. Young has 18 points. Wilson has 17 points for Vegas. For the Storm, Williams has 6. Awuke has 24. Diggins has 17. 8:52 left to play in the fourth. We'll keep you updated on that game. That is a very important game tonight, and so we will have updates throughout this show. We, though, do want to shift gears, to IndyCar. The NTT INDYCAR Series dropped their 2026 schedule. And let me tell you something. It's loaded. Absolutely loaded. 17 races. Again this year, all on Fox. And they're trying to come out the gate swinging. 3 straight weekends to open the year. Okay? Again, like always, St. Petersburg's that first race. Then it gets a little interesting, right? Phoenix on March the 7th. Arlington, on the streets of Arlington, right outside AT&T Stadium, kind of like a Miami F1 vibe, on March the 15th. Okay? And that's how you build momentum. You don't triple down, okay? You got to triple down. You can't tiptoe. Can't tiptoe into the season. You got to go full throttle. And now this is a sport that's been around for a while, but trying to grow too, because NASCAR and F1, they're kind of the powerhouses in the world of motorsports as far as just globalization. But IndyCar is right there. And you got to give them credit. Their ratings were up 27% last year, fastest growing of any major sport, and that's not nothing. Alex Palou just won his third straight title, so you got a star at the top. And Fox, they've went all in, giving them real estate on network television. That matters. You can't grow if you're hidden behind a paywall. I love NBC, but you can't have races on Peacock and USA. You got to be on a network not every Sunday, but 3 straight Sundays in March you're going to be on Fox. 17 weeks, you're going to be on Fox. That's something there. And here's the part I love. They're putting Nashville Super Speedway in prime time, night race, prime time on Fox, right after the FIFA World Cup. Think about that. You go from one of the biggest sporting events on the planet, which, by the way, is going to be played here in the United States, to a great race at a great track. That's smart. That's exposure. That's how you chase new fans. And let's not forget Laguna Seca closes it again. Legendary track, legendary finish. The corkscrew, the whole deal. I love it. You also got the mix of ovals, road courses, street courses. I've got it right here. 6 ovals: Phoenix, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, St. Louis, Nashville, and then the duels of Milwaukee. 6 road courses: Barber, IMS, Road America, Mid-Ohio, Portland, Monterey. Then 5 street circuits: St. Pete, Arlington, Long Beach, Detroit, and Markham up in Canada. Okay, so still in Canada, they swapped. I almost said we, but they swapped Toronto out for Markham. Okay with that. Nothing wrong with that. And it's great. It's great. It's looking great. It's the most complete schedule in motorsports, bar none. NASCAR's got the volume with 36 races, sure, but they're mostly ovals, a couple road courses. You have one street circuit in Chicago. Next year they're coming to Point Loma here in San Diego. F1's got the glam, Monaco and Miami and Vegas, all of that, but IndyCar has the variety. You win this championship, you've beaten every kind of track there is. Now here's the question. Does this actually move the needle? Because yes, ratings are up, but can they get beyond that hardcore base? Can they get the casual fan to tune in when NFL is in camp, when baseball is in the thick of it, when the NBA is making headlines every week? That's the challenge. But you got to admit, they've given themselves a chance. So yeah, IndyCar's swinging big for 2026, and we'll see, because it's one thing to put together a great schedule, it's another to deliver the drama. But if Palou keeps winning, if McLaughlin and Newgarden push him, and Will Power's at a new team, he's leaving Penske and on to Andretti, I believe. And then McLaren's in it, and they're doing great things, and Scott Dixon's still a favorite. So you've got names there, and it can pop, and that Indy 500 magic, it's going to do it. And I'll say it, if you're not paying attention, you should be, because this IndyCar season, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to that Arlington race. The minute they announced it, I said, "Oh boy, that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be a lot of fun." And then I also like that Barber got moved up Because I didn't like it in May. I thought May should be all about Indianapolis, and now this year it is. You've got the Grand Prix up a week. It's not on Mother's Day. It's on the 9th, and Mother's Day will be a non-race there, or at least I think. Let me check the calendar. Oh no, it's still May 9th. Still the second Saturday in May. Still on Mother's Day weekend. So that's and that's tradition. But usually Barber was the first Saturday, and then the next weekend it was at IMS. That's gone this year, and I like that. You got the 9th, and then for the Grand Prix, then the 10th through the 16th is all practice, or the 11th through the 16th is all practice for the 500. Carb Day on the 22nd, great concert on the 23rd there, and one wild race on the 24th for the Indianapolis 500. It is going to be fantastic. Okay, let's tap in here on this WNBA game. 6:24 left to play in the fourth. Aces up by 10, 75-65. Aces just called a timeout. And so we will check back in on that one momentarily. To baseball we go, as we are down to the final stretch of the baseball season. Playoffs begin September 30th, if you can believe that. That is just 15 days away, 14 days away. And that's what it's all about, right? The smell of October. We know who's in. We know who's... Well, we don't know who's in. We know who basically is in. We know the Brewers are in. We know that the Phillies are in. But the Brewers look great. They're the first team to punch their ticket again. That's back-to-back years. They were the first ones in. And that's not a small thing. The Phillies, they're not just in, they locked up the NL East again. So that's two teams now you can write in ink right now. Now, Tigers, Blue Jays, they're sitting pretty, both of them, unless something absolutely bizarre happens. They're winning their divisions. Detroit's got the Central wrapped up. Toronto has a little more heat because the Yankees and the Red Sox are lurking. But let's be honest, the Jays are the class of the division. The next wave, you're talking Yankees, Cubs, Dodgers, Padres. They're all sitting at 99% playoff odds. In other words, they're in. The Mets, they're hanging on for dear life, trying to keep the Giants and Reds off their back. That's your drama in the National League. Look at the matchups right now going on in real time. Braves take on the Nationals. This is doubleheader of Game 2. Braves lead at 1-0, top of the 10th with one out. Marlins and the Rockies. Marlins lead at 6-0 into the 7th. Giants taking on the Diamondbacks. They're tied at the 5th, bottom of the 6th, 2 outs. Man on first and second with batter Perdomo for the Diamondbacks. Phillies taking on the Dodgers. Dodgers lead it 4-0, top of the 5th, 2 outs. Braves earlier today defeated the Nationals 6-3. This was the doubleheader Game 1 makeup for May the 21st. Cubs beat the Pirates 4-1. Guardians beat the Tigers 7-5. Athletics beat the Red Sox 2-1. Mets beat the Padres 8-3. So, in the American League, if the playoffs were to start right now, you'd have Astros, Mariners, Red Sox, Yankees in the wild card round. That's as good as it gets. In the National League, Mets, Dodgers, Padres, Cubs, again, marquee matchups. A couple of things to watch. Detroit and Toronto are fighting for that one seed in the American League. And that matters. You want home field. You want that bye. In the National League, the Dodgers and the Padres are still trying to sort out the West. That's going right down to the wire. And let's not forget Cleveland, Texas. They're hanging around. Somebody's going to play spoiler. Somebody's going to get hot in the final 2 weeks and sneak into that last wild card spot. Happens every year. The baseball playoff schedule is set. Wild card starts September 30th. Division series October 4th, and we roll right through to a November 1st Game 7. If we get that far, that's the roadmap. Bottom line, October baseball is about to be here in this year's field. Brewers, Phillies, Tigers, Blue Jays, Yankees, Dodgers, Cubs, Padres, if nothing changes between now and September 30th, but you probably will expect to see some changes between now and then, and we will have you covered. So heavyweights everywhere. If you're a fan, you can't ask for more than that. Now, let's get into what baseball fans are saying in the barber shop. The National League's team to beat is the Milwaukee Brewers. Listen, Milwaukee has been the most consistent team in the league. They've got a plan. They've got a style. They play the game right. You watch them. Everybody's on the same page. They've done it all year. Why can't they do it in October? Now, you don't have to have any questions in their bullpen. Okay? A lot of people do. A lot of people do because in a short series, they can pull one of those starters in the pen and shorten the game, and that's a luxury to most teams, and because a lot of teams don't have that. And in fact, they can pop a few home runs at the right time. They're dangerous. And for Milwaukee, getting that bye, that's everything. They've been bounced in short series before. So this gives them the room to breathe, that extra breath. With that rotation, they want the longer series. They don't want a best of 3 or anything like that. Give me 5, give me 7. We know we can beat you in that. There. Biggest threat to Milwaukee. The Philadelphia Phillies. It's simple. They've got pitching, they've got experience, and they've got power. Playoffs are about hitting the ball over the wall, and they can do that. Is this the lineup for, to do it? I'm not sure. It's a little top-heavy, but the bottom guys show up. That lineup becomes scary. Their bullpen is lights out, maybe the best in the league. And look, it feels like their last hurrah. They've got older guys, some free agents to be, and Harper. I just can't see Bryce Harper finishing his career without a ring. This might be his best shot, even without Wheeler. So the question is, if not Milwaukee, if not Philly, then who? And I'm going to say the San Diego Padres. I like San Diego. They made all the right moves at the deadline. They've been close before, and they're hungry. The thing with them is they can still disappear sometimes. You pitch them the right way, you can shut them down. But if they survive the wild card round and they get Petco rocking, that crowd is a raucous crowd at Petco Park, and it's really hard to play in. They've got a really good bullpen, and so don't sleep on Tatis and Yu Darvish and the San Diego Padres. But their problem is they got to get past the Dodgers, and that is easier said than done. Now to the American League, the team to beat is the Toronto Blue Jays. Toronto is the most complete team in the American League. They've got the rotation, they've got a balanced lineup, and they've got experience. But it's the other guys, okay, that make you, kind of scratch your head. When I say they've got experience, I'm talking about Vlad, I'm talking about Springer. The lefties, though, make me a little scarce, like Lukes and Barger, that make them tough to pitch. That balance has been missing in past years, but it's here now. Do I worry about their bullpen? Absolutely. They've been shaky in the second half. Tommy Nance might be the guy to lean on, but overall, Toronto is the class of the American League. Biggest threat to the Jays are the Detroit Tigers, no doubt about it. Detroit has figured out how to win. They've turned Commercia into a real advantage. They got first to third better than anybody, and that's a big deal in that ballpark. Sometimes when you watch a team a lot, you get too negative. With Detroit, it's the opposite. You realize how good they are. And here's the kicker. They've got Skubal. You try to fill out a postseason rotation without an ace. It's brutal. Having him makes all the difference, unless he runs out of gas. And I think Detroit is absolutely dangerous. So, if not Toronto or Detroit, then who? And I've got good news for New York. I like the Yankees because their bullpen can carry them. They get hot. Make it hot. The Yankees make it hot. And they've got just enough power bats to take advantage of a weaker American League field. They're flawed, but they're dangerous. And don't count them out. Lots of baseball still to be played, but man, is it going to be fun come playoff time. All eyes will be on that. All eyes, though, are on Seattle. 3:40 left to play. The Storm coming back, only down by 6 now, 73-79. Aces still leading, 3:40 left to play. Take a look at the box score. Asia Wilson has 21. Diggins has 22 for Vegas and Seattle in that order. 3:40 left to play. If Vegas wins, they move on. If Seattle wins, it's a Game 3 in Vegas on Thursday night. Seattle loses. Vegas not only moves on, but Seattle is eliminated. Fever forced a Game 3 earlier today against Atlanta, winning it 77-60. Moving on to Tom Brady, who is back in the news. And listen, Tom Brady's retired. If you haven't forgotten, if you have forgotten, he's retired. He's an owner of the Raiders, a minority owner. He's a broadcaster for Fox. But he just cannot stay out of the headline. It's incredible. He's in the news today, and I'm like, why is this man in the news? But here it is. Now we hear Brady is going to return to football. Sort of. He's the headliner for a brand new flag football event in Saudi Arabia. March 2026, it's Fox Sports, it's Fanatics, it's Al Saki, it's the whole Saudi sports empire thing. 3-team, round-robin, 50-yard field, 5-on-5, active players, retired guys, coaches like Pete Carroll, Sean Payton, Shanahan. You got CD, you got McCaffrey, you got Tyreek Hill, Saquon Barkley, Garrett, all these stars. And Brady, he's the big showpiece. He's on the field. He says, I'm bringing home the trophy. This isn't some friendly little exhibition. He's taking it seriously. And folks, it's part of this massive push Saudi Arabia is making in sports. They've done golf. They've done boxing. They've bought into soccer. They've got tennis and WWE. We talked about that yesterday and all of sports washing and stuff. Won't go deep into that tonight. But now they're planning a flag and football. And flag football is going to be in the Olympics in 2028, so it has become a worldwide spectacle, and so I'm not surprised that something like this is taking place overseas, and that. But Brady is front and center. You need a big name, and one of the best quarterbacks ever. And Fox is involved, and he's their top analyst, and so you have to throw him a bone there. Now, at the same time, Brady is in the headlines for something that is almost laughable: the headset. Monday night, his Raiders lost to the Chargers, and he's up in the booth with the Raiders wearing a headset, and suddenly it's news. Is this legal? Is it a violation? Stephen A. says he has no problem with it. Dan Patrick has a problem with it. I mean, they're debating on both sides of it. The NFL came out and said no problem. He's an owner. He can be in the booth. He can wear the headset. He can listen. That's the rule. He can't be at practice. Can't be in production meetings in person for Fox. Okay, usually broadcasters, they go and they watch a practice and they meet with coaches and in production meetings and all of that. Brady has not been allowed to do that. Okay, but he can do them remotely. He could, they I guess Fox, I don't know, I guess. They tape the practice, or a team sends them film or whatever, and he can watch that. And then he does production meetings over Zoom, I guess, which I think is crazy. Because what's the difference between a Zoom meeting and an in-person meeting? I don't know. You're gonna get the same. Information. So I don't know. But he's not breaking any rules. And yet, because it's Brady, it becomes this huge topic. Conflict of interest. Advantage. All this nonsense, because an owner is a minority owner. He doesn't own the team. He's a minority owner. And, oh, wow, he's going to have an advantage because he saw the Chiefs and the Eagles play. He's going to Chicago next Sunday to call the Bears. That might give the Raiders an advantage because he's going to say, hey, here's what the Bears are doing. Please. You don't think Andy Reid was watching Monday Night Football? You don't think Harbaugh, Jim, or John were watching Sunday Night Football? Monday Night Football. I know Jim was watching because he was there, but I'm sure John watched his brother. John watched his brother. And I'm sure Jim watched his brother. Conflict of interest. It's no more a conflict of interest than anything else. I watched those games. It's, that is, I don't know, conflict of interest, advantage, all this nonsense. Pete Carroll, he comes out and says, look, we talk to Tom, we talk football, we talk life. He's a tremendous asset. Spytech says Brady's voice is invaluable, and you got one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time sitting in your ownership group. Of course he's going to be involved. You think Chip Kelly isn't going to pick his brain? Come on. So here's where we are. Brady is retired, but he's still everywhere. He's going to call Cowboys Bears for Fox next week. He's on the field in Saudi Arabia next year. He's got a headset on in Vegas, and every time he does something, anything, it's a story. Because why? Because he's Tom Brady. He's never going to be just retired. He's too big. He's too competitive. He's too visible. The guy can't help himself. He's always going to be in the game. Okay, and And if it's a conflict of interest, then Fox should have a conversation with the NFL. Not Stephen A., not Dan Patrick. It should come from Fox and say, hey, we don't like this. We think it's a conflict of interest. We think you should step aside. But I don't think Fox has a problem with it. I don't think the NFL has a problem with it because they renewed their deal with Fox. They let Brady, call a Super Bowl. So it wasn't too much of a conflict of interest. And besides, Brad Daltrey, he was a owner of a racing team, and called races for ESPN, NASCAR races. What's the difference? We just talked about IndyCar. Roger Penske owns the league and a racing team. That sounds more like a conflict of interest to me than a commentator in a booth who is a minority owner in a team. He's not coaching the team. Now, if he was coaching the team, sure, that'd be a little maybe conflict of interest, but I don't think he practice. And I don't like the fact that he can't go to practice because it makes him unprepared for the game. Now, he's watching these teams on TV, sure, SportsCenter highlights and other things, I'm sure. And whatever the team's sending him and this and that, I don't know the rules of all that. But I think it makes him unprepared because, Bernhardt and others are getting that in practice momentum. You kind of get to see what plays they're running. You don't get the playbook, but you can see, a 48 rip dive executed and you go, okay, they've tried this 7 times in practice. They might run that on Sunday and you can describe it better. Take him out of that. He can't describe anything but what he sees. And you can't describe anything if you can't see it. But I think you get what I'm trying to say here. I don't like it. I think it's another NFL picking and choosing what they want to do, and they need to make up their mind and leave that man alone. Let's shift gears here to golf. Sad news out of the PGA today. The PGA Tour is pulling out of Kapalua. You heard me right. No season opener in Maui this year. Since 1999, the Tour's kicked things off at the Plantation course, with one exception being back in 2001, and now gone. Why? Because the place looks like a baked potato. It's brown, it's dry, they got no water. And there's a massive dispute going on over who's to blame for the irrigation being shut down. And listen, this is not some little rinky-dink tournament we're talking about. This is the century. It's a $20 million signature event. Every winner from last season, top 15 FedEx Cup, the stars of the sport. It's the launch of the season. And as of right now, they don't even know where it's going to be played. Dates were January 8th through 11th, but nothing's settled. The Sony Open on Oahu the week after, that stays. But this, wide open. You got lawsuits flying all over the place, Kapalua ownership, Maui land, and pineapple water commissions, billionaires, farms. It's a mess. And the bottom line is there's no grass on the course. There's no irrigation. And the state of Hawaii has a real drought crisis going on. The governor even said it. Community needs come first, which is fair. But for the PGA Tour, this is a logistical nightmare. I mean, Kapalua has been a jewel since Bill Corr and Ben Crenshaw designed it in the early 90s. It's been a signature course on TV. gorgeous visuals. Trade wins the whole thing. I mean, Colin Morikawa shoots 29 under and still somehow can't win it. But closed indefinitely. Try to go there, and it's closed indefinitely. The Bay course is shut down. The Plantation course is shut down. They're trying to save it, but there's no water coming. And this is going to sting. Kapalua has a $50 million impact on that local community. Restaurants, hotels, vendors, everybody's tied in. Century, the sponsor, is signed on through 2035. And remember, a couple years ago, the fires of Maui, and everybody said, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And, the community stepped up and said, we're going to play golf. We need this tournament. It's too important. But now, they had no choice but to sign off on this. So here's the question. Where do you put it? La Costa and Carlsbad, that's where it was used before. You got California options because it's, you want. I think you want to stay west because you got to go to Oahu right after, Somebody has mentioned you got Florida options because it's, but some parts of Florida is still cold in January. You go up north, Jacksonville, Fernandina Beach area. We've been New Year's Eve up there. It's a little chilly to play golf there, but South Bay and others like that, Florida is an option, and they just added Trump Durrell back on the schedule for 2026 in April. So don't be shocked if that property finds its way into the conversation. But the PGA has to figure this out fast because January 8th, it's September 16th. You can't have your season opener up in the air 4 months before tee off. And this one is big. It's on network television, NBC, Dan Hicks, the entire crew. Big TV event, one of their signature payouts right now in chaos. So Kapalua, for the first time in decades, out of the mix. It might not be back for a while. That's how real bad it looks. Like this golf course, I'm not kidding, looks destroyed. And if this water fight doesn't get solved, they might have just played their last tour event there. And that is how big it is. And really, it's sad. Like I said, sad news out of the PGA today. And we will keep you updated on that story and where they decide to play. From sad to happy, though, in Seattle, the Seattle Storm have forced a Game 3. How about that? Diggins, Skylar Diggins, 5'9" from Notre Dame, 26 big ones with Nike Ogame, the forward from Stanford, dropping 24, ending the Aces' 17-game win streak, forcing a Game 3 on Thursday night, 86-83, the final in Seattle. Man, they're going to be sleepless in Seattle tonight. Game 3, though, in Vegas at 9:30 Eastern Time Thursday night. So a doubleheader on Thursday. 2 Game 3s. Gonna be special. We'll see if the Mercury, Liberty, Lynx, Valkyries games on Wednesday can live up to these second game expectations. Let's go to what's trending tonight in Kansas City. History for the Seattle Mariners. Catcher Cal Riley. It is 55th and 56 home runs of the season, passing Mickey Mantle for the most everybody switch hitter and tying Ken Griffey Jr.'s club record. Riley homered from both sides of the plate, his 20th career multi-homer game, and his 10th this season, the most event for a catcher. He now stands just 6 home runs shy of Aaron Judge's American League record of 62. In football, Philadelphia Eagles left tackle Jordan Matulta has had enough of the talk that his team's win over Kansas City came down to the so-called tush push. In a fiery radio interview, Malta called that narrative, quote, incredibly disrespectful, insisting the defense and special teams were the difference in the 20-17 victory. The play remains nearly automatic, successful 96% of the time since 2022, but in the Eagles' eyes, it's just one piece of the puzzle. And in Minnesota, the Vikings' backfield takes another hit. Running back Aaron Jones has been placed on injured reserve with a hamstring injury. Jordan Mason will carry the load while the club is expected to re-sign Cam Akers. Comes as the team also brings in quarterback Desmond Ridder, looking for reinforcements after a rash of early season injuries. Here is tonight's final thought. In Nashville this week, the NCAA found itself in a familiar place, in court, defending rules that many say are outdated, unfair, and increasingly indefensible. The case centers on Diego Pava, Vanderbilt's quarterback, who is playing his 4th Division I season under the protection of a federal injunction. The issue? Whether the NCAA's long-standing eligibility rules violate antitrust laws by restricting the marketplace for college athletes. On one side, the NCAA insists it has the authority to regulate who plays and when. Its attorney told judges the rules don't break the Sherman Act and vowed the association would continue enforcing them. On the other side are Pava and his legal team, who argue that these rules amount to a restraint of trade, rules that penalize athletes simply for having played at a junior college before moving on to Division I. For Pava, the outcome won't change his current season. He has a waiver and a future in mind. He's eyeing the NFL in 2026. But what's at stake goes far beyond one quarterback's eligibility. This case, and the roughly 20 others like it, now winding their way through the courts, threatens the very foundation of how the NCAA governs amateur athletes. Pava himself has said he doesn't want another year in college, doesn't need a 5th year, doesn't need a redshirt exemption. He just wants other players, especially those from junior colleges, to have the same opportunities he's had. And that's the heart of it. The NCAA is clinging to rules built for another era, an era before television money ballooned into billions, before coaches became millionaires, before college sports looked and felt like professional entertainment. These rules were written when, quote, student athlete was a convenient shield against labor laws, not the central figure in a multi-billion-dollar industry. So, here we are again. Another athlete, another lawsuit, another courtroom. The NCAA says it's defending order and fairness. Its critics say it's defending power and profits. As Diego Pave finishes what he knows will be his final college season, the question lingers. How many more court cases? How many more athletes? How many more years before the system finally acknowledges the obvious? That college sports, as we know them, are less about amateurism and more about control. That will do it for me on a Tuesday night. Thank you for your time. Thanks for letting me share mine. Ryder Bullock reporting.